In my last video, I talked about how I carried out my first assignment as a cultist and how I failed. It was a terrible experience for me. But today, in this edition, we'll be looking at some of the common traits or some of the common characteristics of a cultist. Now, this will help you if you're a parent, this will help you know when your child has joined so that you quickly rescue them. You can also, this will also help you know, whom you hang out with in case you have not blended yet. Hello, my name is Excellence Madoka. I'm a life coach and an ex-campus cultist in Nigeria. Today, like I said, we'll be looking at some common traits. Now, what I'll be saying today, there are so many, you know, exhibition. There are so many characters that a cultist exhibits, but these ones are common denominator. It's, you know, this, you know, almost every cultist has this character trait, so you can easily identify a cultist. Now, the first one is, you know, I'll be looking at, you know, some of these things that I've enumerated, you know, down. The first one is the people they hang out with. Who are the people that your friends are hanging out with? Who are the people that your child is hanging out with? Who are the people that your brother, your sibling is hanging out with? They say birds of the same feather flocks together. When you begin to see your child or that your friend or that your sibling hanging out with, you know, suspected cultists, or those people that you know that you've been able to identify they are cultists, I tell you, either they have been blended or in a short while they are in the process of being blended. That is, they are in the process of being initiated into cult. So when you look at those people that you hang out with, like, you know, from my story, if you have not listened to my story, how I began, you know, I began to hang out, you know, when I, you know, went for my remedial course, I began to hang out with, you know, the so-called happening guys on campus. Now, anybody that knows this trait will be able to know that either I've been initiated or I'm about to be initiated. So people that your child, your brother, your sister hang out with will tell you that this person, you know, is a cultist. So watch out for this common factor. Number two is, you know, a cultist, you know, isolates themselves. When your child begins to isolate himself from his sibling, or begin to isolate himself from, you know, family members, he's always alone, he's, you know, he just wants to be on his own. But you know that this is not how your child used to be, or this is not how your friend, this is your friend that you have been hanging out with, this is your friend that you have been doing a lot of, and all of a sudden, you know, he begins to shift from you. He begins to look you differently. And, you know, if you are not a cultist, in his mind, he will begin to say, this man is a Jew. Now, the word Jew, you know, is a common word that, you know, they call people in Nigeria here. They call people that are not cultists. That word, Jew. So when they say this man is a Jew, it means that this man is a bloody civilian. He's not a member of a cult. You know, so when that your son or your child or your friend or your sibling begins to isolate himself, which originally he was not, you understand me, then you begin to see him now hang out with different set of people. It's either this person has been initiated or he's about to be initiated. When, you know, when I finally was when I was initiated, I told us at the beginning that, you know, in my first semester, in my first year, I hung out with reasonable people, you know, people that, you know, inspired me. We'll go to class, we'll read and all those things. But from my second year that I got initiated, I now isolated myself from them. You know, I began to hang out with different people. Sometimes they began to wonder, you know, I'm no longer coming around them. I'm no longer hanging out with them. But you see, I'm now hanging out with a different set of people. I've isolated myself from them. I now looked at them as, bloody civilians. I looked at them as Jews, as people that they were no longer, in the same class with me. So when you see someone or a child, isolating himself, either that person has been, initiated or is about to be initiated. Number 3, aggressiveness and hostility. You see a child that used to be very gentle, that when you ask him to do anything without complaining, he does it. And all of a sudden, this child becomes rebellious. This child, starts getting aggressive at, the snap of a finger. You just see him, want to burst out. Just know that there is a spirit has entered into him, a spirit of violence, because during the initiation, all manner of spirits enters into all the initiates. Some people, the spirit of rape comes into them, the spirit of, in fact, almost all cultists, that spirit of violence, that spirit of aggression, you understand, they are always hostile. At the snap of a finger, you see them, they can throw up. Now, I remember my experience one time when I came back home during holiday. My uncle that was staying with us, he provoked me, and this is someone that, I respected. This is someone that, ordinarily, I will not even talk to him anyhow. I will not, I give him that maximum respect because he was my uncle, but all of a sudden, that period, he just did something to me and I flew up. I ran into the kitchen. I brought out sharp cutlass and I almost took off his head. I came after him. If not that he shifted his head a little bit, I would have chopped off his head. And I was shouting that blood will flow in this house, head will roll. And everybody was glued and they were surprised because they have never seen me in this state before. They have never seen me act. I used to be a very respectful young man. That is how my parents brought us up. But all of a sudden, I was so aggressive, and if not that he shifted his head a little bit, I would have killed that man. That is what you see. You see them, they snap at any time because this violent spirit has built up inside of them. Then another characteristics that you can find in a cultist is mind control. A cultist already, their ideology has changed. They no longer, their mind is controlled by a different force. They employ, a lot of techniques is employed, to brainwash them. During orientation, they will let you know that, see, this person does not belong, you don't belong to this person. You only belong to this sect. You only belong to this group. So whatever you do, you understand me, you are loyal to this group. You are 100% loyal to this group. So, they have this us versus them mentality, us versus them, superiority, mentality that, the cult that I belong is more superior than the other cult. So, their mindset and, they are more superior than the people that are not even in court, the people that have not even joined court. Like I told you, they call them Jew. You understand? The people that have not joined court, they are nothing. They are nobody at all. So their mind shift. They are, they have controlled their mind that, like I also said in one of my videos that, they'll tell you duty is duty, that you must carry out every duty that they tell you to do. You no longer have control of yourself. You no longer, and they will let you know, like, in my last video, my first assignment that I failed, the way I was dealt with, every other person that saw, they did it in front of every other new initiate. Every other new initiate, they did it, and they put that fear in them that, oh boy, that means if I fail, this is the kind of drilling that I'm going to get. This is the kind of beating that I get. So automatically everybody has this mindset that every duty that you give, they give to you, you must not fail at it. Your mind. So when you now begin to see a typical cultist, his ideology has changed completely. Now, we also have dress code. Even though when I was a cultist, unlike now, those days when that's why I said it's not every, characteristics that, when I was a cultist, you will hardly know, you barely know those days. You barely know that because you see me, I dress very well, I'm friendly to everybody. But these days, I'm not saying that every boy that you see that is wearing dread is a cultist. I'm not saying, but most of them, that is how they look like. You see the way they dress. That's why I tell young men, the way you dress is the way they will address you. The way you appear shows who you are. So a lot of people, you see them, their dress code, some of them, they like flying their colors. Different cults with different colors. Some of them, you see them, their colors, yellow, some black and red, some black, some brown, some, you just see them one way or the other. You see the symbol of the cult that they belong to. You see it appearing in their dress code. When you see your child that used to be decent, that used to dress decently, and you see him or her, all of it sudden, this dress code changes, just know that this child has been initiated. Either he has been initiated or is about to be initiated. Now, another very important aspect that you need to know. Now, always check your child when your child comes back from school, especially the one that just got admission. Now, during initiation, their initiation process is very hostile. Their initiation process is very brutal. So, most times, virtually all the time, it's almost in every cult group. The initiation process is brutal. It leaves scars on the body of that child, of that young man or that young woman. If you open up their bag, I said during my initiation, after my initiation, I used to go to the bathroom to take my bath very early in the morning so that nobody will see the scars on my back or on my butt. So many, you see them. So check your child. When you see scar, the first time after that scar, has healed. Of course, it healed before I went back home. So one day, my mom, saw some scars on my back. That's, just a scar because it has healed a long time. And she asked me, what happened to me? What's all this scar? Of course, a typical cultist is a bloody liar. That's one of the characteristics. They know how to frame. They know how to fabricate. I'll come to that. She asked me, what's this on your back? I looked at it. I said, I might not be smart, that there was a time, something happened in school and, police people came and they were, people were just running and everything. So I fell mistakenly and I got these bruises. He said, and this bruise looks like, cane. I say, yes. Some of us were flogged. And that was how it died. Such story. I know she didn't really believe it, but she didn't know. She didn't know what it was. She didn't know. So she didn't have any option but to believe. Then another trait, a cultist is a bloody liar. Remember, they said the father of all lies is the devil. So when a cultist serves the devil, they look like their father. They can lie. They can lie. According to my children, they say they can lie for Africa. A cultist can sit down and fabricate lies that you believe. I remember one of the days that I went out to hang out with my friends, during one of the holidays. So I went out to hang out with my friends. So we had smoked, and all my body was smelling smoke. My hand was smelling smoke. So immediately as I entered into, the house, as I stepped into the sitting room, we had, a blackout, power outage, and my father was, lying on the couch. He was lying on the couch as I came in. So I was trying to, before they brought lamp and other things to light up the place. So everywhere was dark. So I was just using my hand, to find my way. I didn't know that my father was lying on the couch. So my hand came to his face, and obviously, the first thing he smelled was, the stench of, cigarettes. And he jumped. Who is that? Who is that? He held my hand and he asked them to bring light. And they brought light. Immediately as they brought the light, he held my hand. He said, oh, oh, oh. So I've started smoking. Immediately, I fabricated. I smelled myself. I said, So, and I told these boys not to smoke where I was. And look at now. Say, no, it's not me. That, I was, where I was sitting, a lot of people were smoking. And so that is why the smoke came. These are so many things. See, you don't believe them. They can lie. Even when you catch them red-handed, they have something to tell you to, So when your child that you know, that you brought up very well. Now, I need to also let you understand that most of us were brought up in a good Christian home. They give us good values at home. But you see, the moment we join these things, our orientation changes. The values that we came out from home, becomes distorted. They corrupt that seed, that good seed that our parents are sown into. So it's not as if most of these boys, it's not as if they didn't get good home training. But you see, something just lured them. So a typical cultist is a liar. And, when you see them, they can easily fabricate, lie. And finally, loss of personal identity. Loss of personal identity. A cultist, the moment you join cult, you have lost your identity, your true self, who you are. So what you do with the orientation that they give to you, you begin to act on the script that they gave to you. You are no longer yourself. When a child, that has confidence in himself, begins to, not believe in himself anymore, and he's depending on a group to make it, just know that this cultist. I know I've been able to, highlight some of the traits. There are several, but this one's another one that I also need to let you know, though it is not all cultists, but though it is not everybody that does it that is a cultist, but commonly a cultist is commonly a drug addict, an alcoholic, and so many other addictions. I was addicted to alcohol. I tried taking marijuana, Indian hemp. The first time I almost, I almost destroyed myself, so I stopped that. But I was addicted. I was addicted to alcohol and so many other things. So when you see a child begins to, take these things, you begin to see a child, get involved in drinking so much, watch out. Either that child has been, because they are being influenced. They are being influenced. When you look at my video on, the reasons why people join cults, I talked about peer pressure. Some of them are being pressurized to do most of these things. They feel that if they get high, they'll be able to carry out some actions. But I know there is hope. It is important that you identify these things early. You begin to see these things early. Now, I'm particularly talking to parents that are watching my video today. It is important that you identify these things early so that you begin to tackle it. I need you to understand one thing, that there is hope. In case you have found your child, behaving in all this manner, there is no need for you to start shouting. Reach out. We're going to send you, our contact. Reach out to us. We can talk to them. We can counsel them. But the earlier you notice this, the better. I know that God will help you. I know that that child has given you so much concern, so much problem. But if God can save me, God can also save that child if you believe. I need everyone that is listening to this. Remember today that as you are hearing this, that God is about to change your story and to change your destiny. Please, I need you to subscribe to this channel. I need you to like and comment. If you have not, please do that. And we have so many. I'm going to be coming to you again. I'll tell you several other things, and at the end, I will let you know how God rescued me and so many other things. Remember, stand out, don't blend.